before we get too far into all those stories, I wanted to have you in here because I'm just like, I gravitate towards extroverts, I guess. And so we didn't really know each other when you first started coming to Vertical, because I had stopped working in the tech arts, stopped working for Vertical for a little bit. And then you kind of jumped in up there to help out. And I'm like, this guy's great. And then I'm like, everybody loves this guy. What's going on with Chris? And so I thought, before I get to know you too well, I thought I would bring you in here and let you kind of share your story, your life story, and your testimony. And before we get started with that, though, I got some things I want to share with you from the guys.
Right. From the guys. Love them.
Comments from the guys. I'm going to put this one up first.
Do I get to guess who it is?
Yeah, if you don't look. Hold on.
I won't look.
Chris has a way of inviting us to participate, and before we know it, we've been discipled. I love it, though.
Yeah, man, I could go back and my first comment, the first response, what you said about me being extrovert, I took the Myers test. I'm like 51% extrovert.
Barely.
And 49% introvert. Like, when I leave here and you don't hear from me on the chat, that's my own time.
Your introvert time.
Yeah. But I think kind of how I grew up from being the oldest Asian child and the positions I've been put in through the military and football and leadership, I kind of took hold of it. But man, I probably would say Sal or Kirk probably said that.
That was Kirk.
Yeah.
That was Kirk.
A couple of years ago, before I went through my divorce, people would probably be like, man, Chris just goes home and doesn't talk to nobody, kind of kept to myself, kind of did the whole family thing, and wasn't my full self. It's a longer story to that. We could get into that too. But when I started going to Vertical, I realized that there's gifts that I have that God has given me that I wasn't really using. So if you know me like years ago, you'd be like, that's kind of different person. I was short, brash, straight to the point, didn't want to be your friend, just go do your job and leave me alone. And now it's just like, man, God is so great in my life. Like, come join the party with me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of men just need the invitation.
Yep.
And it's really weird. A lot of guys have a heart to serve. They do, right? But if you ask them to step up and take the leadership role, they're like, no, somebody else does it.
Yeah.
But hey, you want to help me do this? I can get a lot of people to do it. And half the time it's just us hanging out, getting to know each other and talking about things that we're going through. Is just own discipleship by itself.
Yep.
So living life together.
Yeah, I think Kirk called you a bridge builder.
Yeah.
That's what he was calling you in another one. I got a box of tissues. Should I go get it?
No, it's good.
I might cry. I don't know.
Yeah.
The way he prayed over me a time that I was headed out of town for work, and the Lord knew I needed a brother in that time because my heart was heavy. He's a positive force for sure. He's always pouring into others. I appreciate his time with my son.
Yeah.
Plus, in basketball, it was fun to go against him. He would call me Rodman, LOL.
Yeah.
You know,
I know who that is.
Figure out who that one is.
Yeah. And that's Sal. Man, in the beginning, first group I was in was basketball. And
okay.
So
was that at the Buda Park?
Yeah, it was.
I remember that.
And I didn't really care for basketball. I played other sports. I rock climb and everything else. And I probably need to like bond with guys. And I was just fresh off the divorce. I wasn't like divorce wasn't even like finalized. And we played at a park that had slabs coming up and trip hazards, and everybody's like 40 and above. Nobody really cared, but after
everybody's getting injured.
Nobody getting injured. That was a blessing from God. But there was a picnic table, and we sat at the table and just got real. And I remember my first time sitting out there and just like not knowing anybody, but hearing men talk about the struggles and everything else. And
Yeah.
That was my first group where I got to meet guys like Sal. And yeah, I remember when I prayed for Sal, that was caught in my uncomfort zone too. Later on, he told me when he came to our Bible study, and I thought it was the right thing to do. And then he told me what it meant to him. And at that time, I cried.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not here today. Other question, maybe. So.
Well, I've been known to make people cry in here before. So
Good.
they didn't see it coming.
Good. Joy. Tears of joy.
Let's see, what else we got here? Chris is one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. More importantly, he is authentic. That is probably one of the best words I could use to describe him, authentic. I will also say that Chris is an excellent example of servant leadership. If you ever watch him at Tuesday night prayer, he is good at sensing when someone is in need. He gravitates towards them. God lights them up for him.
And a lot of people go to our Tuesday night prayer, and those are some really kind words. Yeah, it's really nice to hear. Tuesday night prayer has been very instrumental for me.
Yeah, it's been huge.
Yeah.
It's gotten so big.
Man, do you remember Luciana?
I don't think so.
He was a director for a little bit. He was part of the basketball guy. He was another director. Man, I was on director spot, and none of the camera guys showed up. And it's like 10 o'clock, service starts, and Luciano's like, I don't see a camera guy down there. Can I help? Because he's another director.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, cool, can you do the camera? He was like, I don't know how to do the camera. I was like, we swap. And I go down, and it's like my second time running cameras. Fresh, right? And I'm running 2 cameras, and Pastor Sean says, we're going to do Tuesday night prayer. And Tuesday night, we had the base camp. And at first, I was like, what?
That's when they moved it.
What are we doing for Tuesday night prayer? And so I asked Pastor Jody, and he said it was like kind of all of a sudden and kind of things. And the ministry had been really good for me at the time. And so I get my kids on Thursdays. So I have to go talk to the ex-wife and reschedule Thursdays to a day that works. And I said, honestly, good luck with Tuesday night prayer. Like, I'll go to base camp.
Yeah.
And Pastor Cam put me on the schedule to direct during the soft launch. And
you got hooked?
It's been life-changing. I haven't missed one yet. Matter of fact, it might be my favorite service during the week.
Yeah. I
It's
think
the
I've only
main
missed
meal.
1 or 2 in the last, since we started them on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's my main meal of the week.
That's a good one.
Sundays are really great, but seems like we're serving more, right? And kind of like the message is for a broad spectrum of different people in their walks. And Tuesday, there's intimacy of like, it's like walking in church knowing you're going to get uppercut, but the hug's coming at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's Tuesday night for
Like,
me.
you know you're going to break some chains, but your wrists are going to be sore when you're done.
Yeah, it's been, there's a lot of great things on Tuesday nights.
I've seen miracles happen there.
Absolutely.
Which is,
Absolutely.
you know, people say that miracles don't exist because they don't see them, but I don't think they're paying attention is the problem.
Yeah,
or they're not in places where miracles are happening either.
Man, I think it's the filter,
Yeah.
right? I think it's more like, what are you looking for and what are you trying to explain?
Yeah.
Like, if you see something happening that's only God could do, but you're trying to rationalize it because you don't believe, then you won't call it a miracle.
Or you're trying to compare it to the miracles in the Bible.
I know.
You know?
Well, but yeah, like
some of the biggest miracles recorded.
of people's hearts changing right there on Tuesday. Tuesday night prayers is amazing.
That's miraculous in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, those Tuesday nights are good stuff. All right, here we go. This one's kind of long.
Uh-oh.
I first met Chris right after my last starting point class. I was introduced to him next to the coffee bar. He immediately made me feel welcome and invited me to Friday night Bible study and to base camp. His first reaction to meeting new people is to get you plugged in and make sure you're getting discipled. I've only ever met a handful of Christian brothers that have that mindset. From first introduction, all you see from Chris is the love of Christ and a kingdom mindset. Without Chris, I'm sure eventually I would have met the men and brothers in Christ that I have, but for sure it would have taken me longer to do it. Like Pastor Ron said, we are the body, and every part is important. The parts that seem unimportant are actually the most important part. If I had to relate Chris to a body part, I would say cartilage.
That's funny. That's funny. There's a lot of things that he could have said.
Mm-hmm.
Cartilage is just one of them. Oh man, Friday night Bible study. Aaron Torres and Will Sampson helps co-lead it.
Oh, by the way, that last one was Coach Darrell, not the one before. The Tuesday night prayer one
Okay.
was Darrell.
All right.
I don't think we got that far.
Yeah.
But see if you can guess this one. So Friday night Bible study.
So we had upwards of 13 to 16 people at times.
Mm.
So all from Oak Grove text chain. There's like 26 people on there now. So that's hard. New guy, maybe Mario. Right? I think. I don't know. A lot of people introduced me to new people.
That was Jason.
Okay. Jason Frick.
Mm.
Amazing. I love his family. Oh.
Met you at the coffee bar.
Yeah. Man,
This keeps tagging me out.
I'm trying to get Jason to do a James study, but I think Pastor Sean beat us to the punch.
Oh, yeah. We got a whole summer of James.
Yeah.
Marty said it's my summer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it is Summer of James. Middle name's James also, so I get a little bit of love on that one.
Oh, nice.
Too. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Christopher James.
Yeah.
I like that.
And
Yeah.
there's people I see that you can see it in their face that knows that you're just going to be friends with them for a long time. Jason has that.
Yeah.
That thing. Man, he challenges me and he's such an add-on to everything that is of God, like his family and his walk and how his wife and his kids serve. Really great family. Yeah, really great family.
Seems like a good dude, from what I can tell in the text chain there.
Yeah.
Meeting him at church.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Chris is one that not only pushes himself, but everyone around him to be better. If there is a finish line, he's not just running towards it, he is trying to break the record. Faith, family, and friends, that's the foundation that he stands on. Everything else is second. He has a heart for people, and he wants to see those around him win. He has already come up with 5 ways to help you get there.
Mm.
Let's be honest. Chris is always in motion, still trying to figure out if he ever sleeps, LOL. Seriously, though, he is always there when you need him. Superman, in all caps. Not that he saves the day, but you can always count on him. I'm proud to call him my best friend.
Oh. Man.
That's that one right there.
That's a good one.
Mike Huddleston.
Yeah. Mike Huddleston's one of the reasons why I ended up at Vertical.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me that story real quick.
All right. This is where it gets deep. Man, we could go as far as, man, there was a deep, dark part of my life right after I was surprised with getting divorced. And it was, let's go back a little bit further. Me and Mike met in Nashville working on the museum project for a company that we used to work for. And kind of like only seeing each other at work, kind of liked how his work was. And I wanted him to join my team when he moved to Texas. And he followed his superintendent to San Antonio, and he just kind of reached back out. Hey, Chris, can I come back to Austin and work with you? So just like light friendship, we kind of knew of each other. I was surprised with a divorce, and I lost it. Right, I thought the end of the world. Contemplated suicide,
Yeah.
and for some reason, I attached him. My employer, Kyle. He's actually the son of the owner. He went to my wedding, and we're really close friends. In a text message talking about all the things, when you store up all the emotions for years and years, and you want to release, doesn't matter who was on the other side. And Mike was on, and he replied, And then after it got kind of was calming down off the edge, he wasn't like jumping, but then I had to go to work and work with him. And during the divorce, they put me on a very small project where I had to project manage and everything else, and got to really get to know him. And we got on the topic of God and faith. And at the time, I wasn't going to church, right? But we became friends where a week before, I was surprised that I convinced him to move to Kyle because his lease ended up. And I was like, the loudest thing in Kyle is the wind. 'Cause at the time, a couple years ago, it was. And he just came from Pflugerville with all the expansion on the highway and everything else. Yeah. And then during divorce, I moved to Austin. So at work, we talk about everything from like what a relationship should be looking at and kind of things. And we're talking about God. And he texts me like, dude, like, where do you get your tires changed in Kyle? And I give him a suggestion. What's the best barbecue? Right? And I give suggestions. And it's like, where do you go to church? And I to be honest with him, I was like,
you didn't have an answer.
Yeah, I was like, man, I know the word a little bit, and but I haven't been really going to church. But there's a church on top of the hill. You know, you take a ride off by Dollar General, right? I think it's called Icon. So I was like, I tell you what, I was like, tell me what time you want to go, and I'll meet you there. Because at the time, like, I knew Mike was like, if he goes with somebody, he'll go. But if you don't go, kind of things, then I also needed an excuse.
Right.
And, man, talk about tearjerker. And got to the church. I walk out and like, vertical. I was like, oh, I guess it's a different church. Let's go in anyways. Surprisingly, didn't meet Kirk. Right?
Did you meet Jerry Rivera?
No, didn't get
He wasn't at the front door either?
I was able to squeeze through everybody, and man, sermon hit, altar call, freaking me and Mike right there, and we've been coming ever since.
It was both your first time to be there?
Yeah,
wow,
it was really powerful. Shortly after, saw him get baptized, and then right after I got baptized, right before the week that my little brother went to Nepal for his missionary. He trains missionaries in Nepal, and he was able to be a part of that. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, so jumping out of the water and with him, and it's good. Yeah.
That's cool. That's how you ended up at Vertical, huh?
Yeah.
It's Mike Huddleston.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start at the beginning. Now that you've already gotten into a little bit of your family. Where were you born?
Man, Fort Huachuca. All right, spelled with the Indian pronunciation with an H.
Huachuca?
Fort Huachuca, Arizona. Army. Dad was in the Army, and he was stationed in Korea, and met my mom, and my mom moved to the States. I was born in Fort Huachuca. After a year, went to.
What year were you born?
83.
83, okay. 11 years after me, okay.
I still feel old.
So you just turned 40.
I'm 42, so yeah. Fort Huachuca, Arizona. Mom and dad divorced for whatever reason, a year, and then I moved to Korea as a 1-year-old. Grew up in a small town, like maybe a stoplight kind of.
In Korea?
In Korea. It's called Dongducheon.
You moved back there with your mom?
Yep, called Dongducheon, and right outside of the Army base, Camp Casey. So.
How was growing up in Korea? I don't think I've met anybody who grew up there.
I know, and
were you there your whole childhood?
I was there until I was 8.
Okay.
So, man, it like amazes me where like I have memories, and I ask other people what's their youngest memory, and they're like 10. I'm like, I remember doing a lot of stupid stuff when I was a little kid, right? More painful than memory.
What were you getting into in Korea with them?
So a lot of my friends were friends at my size. So at like 7 years old, I had like 13, 14-year-old
Mhm.
friends. I'm 6'2", so a lot of Koreans are not as big as me, right? But just like jumping over like really stupid stuff. Like we used to get on top of apartments and jump gaps. And like one misstep, it would have been like 15,
Yeah,
16 stories
you're
falling
being an
down.
influencer now on Instagram or
I
TikTok.
know. Watch a TV show. TV back then in the United States was just turning color and everything else. In Korea, not so much. Like it was, technology was a little slower back there. But because my stepfather had he was a fire chief of Camp Casey. He had some influence, so we always had like American TV. And I remember like getting a bike and trying to jump a creek and all kinds of stupid stuff. Wrestling beetles, right? Wrestling beetles, catching grass, dragonflies. Yeah, those were great times. Yeah. Growing up in Korea, great food.
Yeah.
Right. Like kids getting sent down to the grocery stores, and everybody knows who you are. Kind of things. A lot more.
You said it was a village?
Not.
Okay.
I want to say a village because like my grandmother lived in a village where walls were made out of rice paper, like the old school doors where you could pop those, kind of like that. So think about a small city that shouldn't be there, but there's a military base. Therefore, there's
support for the base.
Yeah. So grew up there until I was 8 years old.
Then where?
Then my stepfather got a job in Fort Hood as a fire chief of Fort Hood, the biggest Freedom Army base. And I remember him talking about Texas. And the only thing I saw in Texas was like Nick at Night, B-rolls of like sage bushes, tumbleweeds.
You would have had no memory of Arizona even.
Yeah.
If you left at 1. So the United
tumbleweeds,
States was brand new to you.
Yeah. So we flew to Seattle where my aunt and uncle on my stepdad's side's there, and he bought one of those Dodge camper vans with like the roof, and we spent the whole summer driving the whole coast, stopping at places, and got to Fort Hood. Got to see all the tanks, and I'm asking where the cowboys are, and didn't see those. Didn't see tumbleweeds, and
just saw military equipment.
Wasn't surprised. I was like, this is just like Camp Casey.
You just lived on base.
Yeah. For the form. Yeah.
So and then you spent the rest of your childhood in Killeen, Fort Hood.
Yeah. Graduated there. Really diverse. I had friends that was Vietnamese to.
It's a pretty diverse population out there with the Army. Right?
Yeah, very, very diverse.
Right? What was that like being in high school out there in Killeen, Fort Hood?
Man, I think I could go all kinds of ways with this, but man, being so diverse is also like all these micro cliques in high school, right? Like hallways of like Puerto Ricans and Mexicans, and you got the Korean population and the blacks and whites, and I'm like, I'm too black to be Korean and too Korean to be black, right? So it was a lot of
you get your own club.
Yeah, so it was really weird, and like Killeen in itself, it's so diverse that like has this animosity of like where they're originally from and kind of things. It's a big measuring contest, right? So
big car culture there too.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Big car scene.
I think it had like at one point in time like the 5th or 15th largest churches per capita.
Really?
Yeah,
well, because of the base, everybody needed
the base, and everybody trying to start a church kind of things. I didn't realize that until like a lot later. But my mom like reminds me every couple of years that when I had 18, I had like a poster sticker on the TV that said, like, I can't wait to get out of here. And man, as soon as I turned 18, joined the military, and I was off. And shortly after, I came back, and I actually realized clean has a lot more like great stuff if you actually look for it. So,
did y'all go to church there when you were growing up
man,
in Korea or
so Korea,
Fort Hood?
grandma was a Buddhist, mom was a Buddhist. I didn't grow hair until I was like 5. So this haircut, same thing went since I was born. Just bring sexy back, right?
That's right.
Right. So
Smooth.
So they call me Baby Buddha or Kojak. That was at the time. So man, some of my youngest memories was going to the Buddha temples, and they have these big celebrations of trays of like donations or sacraments. I don't really know, but like all the greatest fruits and rice cakes and everything else, and I just like it just because there's always some left. And like I always say, I was a big kid. I was a big kid.
We used to polish off the communion bread at Presbyterian Church.
Oh, okay.
After the second service.
All right.
Like, so there's leftover bread.
So came to the United States. My dad's like, I don't care. You're going to go to St. Joseph Catholic Church until you're 13. They had like the Knights of Columbus that my dad was trying to get into, and he was also a Mason, right? So he wanted to be involved. A lot of great things. Got baptized when I was like probably like 10, and went with my little sister, and then did the
by your choice, like you accepted Christ at 10.
No. That was like part of the 7 sacraments or whatever. And did the confirmation courses, and had like every summer, like once a week, every Wednesday, walk to my godmother's house, Miss Shelley, great person, and she always had cookies and desserts, and she'll help me like do the rosary and everything else. Even was an altar boy at a time because like why not kind of things. A lot of it for me was like it was school. It was a system, and it's like you got to be good at it. But so I memorized the verses that are supposed to be memorized and things, but I never had a relationship with Christ. 13 was free from that and was able to make my own choices. I'm grown. My mom founded a community, a Korean church, right? That's like kind of one of the best ways to meet people is to be in their lives. And Methodist church. So she was involved, and she'll make the greatest kimchi. Wow. And after service, it was like Thanksgiving, kind of like how Korea's food is more family style, like Thanksgiving instead of like plate style, individual plates. So just like how we have people serving, they have teams of service, and there's always lunch. And I love Korean food. Right, my mom owned a couple of restaurants, so everybody wanted her to cook certain things, and
she did a lot.
Yeah, she did a lot. So I started going to her church and found my high school friends or my age appropriate friends that were Black and Korean. Probably I can't blame them for all the misfits and whatever. I was kind of like the ringleader for some bits, more like how to get away with stuff, instead of like getting into
the
it.
professional.
Yeah, but
somebody had to be the professional in the group.
Yeah, get out of youth service and ask strangers to buy us cigarettes or steal Mad Dog 2020 and drinking in a church parking lot. So complete no relationship with Christ at this time. Got into high school, found my first wife. She was Seventh-day Adventist, and her family, she was the first Panamanian. Her mother was first Panamanian female deacon in the United States.
Wow.
And they had all kinds of weird church services, and the things that were being preached in the pulpit, it didn't wasn't challenging. It was more like, that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Like comments like Disney's for the devil, stuff like that. And I'm like intellectual. I'm like, you can't blame Disney for what an artist may have portrayed, and production control should have caught that, but now you're looking for something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my take on religion was like really weird, right? So like already like best friend was like Hindu, grew up Buddhist, confirmed Catholic.
It's a melting pot up there in Fort Hood.
Marrying a person of Seventh-day Adventist, and I didn't marry her yet. So joined the Navy at 18, and get into the barracks, and so that's 2001. Big evangelistic push, a lot of street preaching, and a lot of churches going into military bases and trying to find places for it, and it's great. But
did you join before or after 9/11?
So you want to get in that story? That's a good one too.
We don't have to yet.
Yeah,
we can go back to it.
Yeah,
when you said 2001, I was trying to get it.
2001. I joined before August 22nd.
Ooh, right before.
I was in it while it was 9/11. So that's an interesting story from inside there.
Yeah, we'll get to that part.
So, so in basic training, Sunday, you got to write your letter. Ex-wife's father, I still talk to him, Dan player, really good guy. Major in the Army. He writes strategy books still. He still considers me his son. He's a really good guy. But really stern and wouldn't let his daughter like write to her boyfriend in the thing. So like I had to find ways to like just get out. And church on Sundays means that you don't have to do stuff, right? And knew enough about the word to actually like debate back and forth. But I went there because like you could see girls and actually like freely talk about whatever instead of being this confined military thing. So that's 18.
And then you got married. At what age?
Yeah, so I got married at 20. I signed up for a 5-year contract. I had a really high ASVAB score, so I was aviation electrician. Had a 9-month school, theory of avionics and then theory of electricity with college professors. And so as soon as the day that I graduated from A school in Pensacola, me and my Stephanie, right, the Panamanian, got married in Pensacola. And my father-in-law was like, all right, cool.
I guess she can write you letters now.
That's your headache, right? All right, so good.
She's all yours.
Yeah. So,
and then you shipped out?
No, not really shipped out. I did really well in school. You get top 10%, and you're allowed to pick from like certain posts that you want. There was a billet in in Dallas to work on F-18s, and one in somewhere else. And the one I chose was Jacksonville, Florida, because she said Florida reminds her of Panama. 18, clueless, and so
Florida it is.
Yeah, went to Florida. It was great. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Yeah.
And when did you have the first kid?
Hold on. So I got married at 19, right? So 18, joined the Navy. 19, get married. 20, right? So my oldest is 22. He just graduated from Texas State last Wednesday.
All right.
He's really smart. Looks like me. Right. He's completely different than me. Has his own personality. So my first kid at a whopping 20 years old, think I knew everything. Right, man.
The Navy.
Yeah, in the Navy. Man, miracle baby. He was born and he had some lung complications. And because I was in the military, they flew him over to a children's hospital, and he was in neonatal. And I got a bill at 20 years old, and it was like $150,000 back then. And the military was like, you owe nothing.
Oh, wow.
All right, so,
That's amazing.
Right, and so still no relationship with Christ, but I remember feeling that I never had, right? And so like I bought him Baby Einstein books and read to the stomach and all the other stuff, right?
Yep.
Like I have no idea. There's no instruction book. But
there's the Dr. Spock book.
Here it comes, and the woman that you love, you kind of like know for how long and why and everything else. Right? Still didn't have a full understanding of love, and this thing that is freshly born, and he already has your heart. And I was like, what is this? Like, how? Right? You know, like everything else have to make sense, but how a kid captures your heart, especially your first one, right? All the kids are special. But, yeah.
The first one is life-changing.
It is.
When they're like, they're going to let me leave the hospital with this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And trust me not to break it.
Yeah. I had a little bit.
You were 20. I was 30. You were 20.
I had a little bit of practice. My mom owned restaurants, so I was like, my mom and my dad worked nights. I took care of my brothers and sisters. Brothers 10 years younger, and then my aunt married a major in the Army, and he got stationed in Fort Hood. So they all kind of like help at the restaurant together. So I was like the middle school babysitter. Right, I had a great old time.
Yeah.
Right.
Siblings and cousins just playing all the time.
Yeah, my uncle was my first mentor.
Really?
Me and my stepdad, besides good food and sarcasm, really don't have anything really like in common. He has 2 doctorates, 2 black belts, and he thinks competition and combative sports is a lack of arts in it. And I'm like, UFC, like middle linebacker, like wrestled and did all this stuff and didn't understand him. And I relate to him a lot more, and I'm very thankful for him being in my life. But my uncle was he was an airborne tanker, right? And like he's the one that showed me how to do push-ups and taught me how to play chess and the little. You know, the wake you up pills, whatever. I remember smelling that for the first time. What is that? Smell it. Yeah, really.
Now you're awake all night.
Yeah, he was my first.
Take you back to your mom.
Yeah, first mentor. He ordered Pizza Hut when Pizza Hut was good back then, right? The cool uncle that always bought McDonald's and pizza where everybody else wanted to cook.
What was the best piece of advice you think you ever got from him?
Man,
something that stuck with you still to this day.
Man, I'll get to that. So he, 3 instances. I went to Home Depot when he was selling his house in Fort Knox, and he's trying to figure out how to do tile. And I saw something and said, hey, what if we do this? And he's like, you think you could do it? Just let me do it. Like no explanation. Like I'd never done it before, but just took an input and just like helped me do it while he's learning too. So that stood out. He also taught me how to play chess. And after the third time, chess. I beat him, and he got really mad, and I got really happy at it. Right. But the advice, I'm not sure the exact words, but when I'm speeding ahead, he passed away. He passed away right afterwards. But after I got out of the military, I started modifying helicopters for Dongducheon International. And talking about, like, he stopped talking to me when I was in the Navy because it was Army, and I'll get a little bit more into that in a little second.
The Army-Navy battle?
Well, a lot more. He pulled some strings and I got into the West Point prep program, and I was like...
And you went to the Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and he pulled some large strings. I mean, a lot of my accolades caused me to get to that spot.
Yeah.
But he made room for me, and then kind of made it look bad because he talked a 3-star from giving me a recommendation so that to make it happen, and I kind of like, I know what's better kind of things. But so after that, I got out of the Navy, and he was already retired, and he kind of told me how these contracts work. Like, I was modifying helicopters on a contract that the government gives, and he's like, why don't you just do the contract? I was like, Uncle, you don't know what I do. I do this and put this test set and actually do the hands-on stuff. And he's like, why don't you just do the contracts? And it took me a little bit he explained it to me. It took me a little bit to understand, like, later on what he was trying to say. It's like, you don't have to be the hour by hour guy that does the work. You could be the guy that makes the work happen, and it does it completely different. So he changed my mindset a lot later on. He always challenged me, really. Yeah. He passed away, and my cousins came, and man, my cousins came and just kind of like moved into with my brothers and sisters into the school program, and I was just going through a divorce. There's a big time gap there, but I remember helping out with the funeral, and I wanted to buy them a limo, and we're going into the memorial off of 195. We're in the limo procession, and I'm cool, not a tear. That's my, got to be the tough man. And a stranger just jumps out of his car, right? Not jump out, but like steps out of the car on the opposing road and just salutes. And I lose it. And I think that's like my first time I cried in front of my wife.
Wow.
Right? Because...
what year is this?
Probably 2009.
Okay.
Yeah, 2009. So there's a little bit of time gap on that. But yeah, really influential guy.
Wow. So back to the Navy. You were in Florida. Then where'd you go after that?
I stayed predominantly in Florida. I did ROTC in high school, so I was advanced to E2. I told you I was top 10%, so I got a lot of early promotes, did really well. Kind of started playing the statistic game where, like, being the young guy that's trying to excel really things. That kind of was enrooted in the abandonment issues from my real father, where, like, he wasn't really part of my life. I met him maybe 2 or 3 times. Like, he got stationed in Korea, and I met him like twice. And then when I moved to the United States, my uncle was stationed in Kentucky, so we went and visited. He dropped me off at my dad's house, took me to Six Flags. So from like 1 to like 23, maybe, like, met him like 3 times, right? So I came to the United States, and I'm hearing these statistics that kids that don't grow up with a father figure, especially African American, are more likely to run into this or go to jail, all the other stuff. And man, I was really full of myself, and I was like, I'm going to be the anomaly. So I created this facade, like, I am going to do everything so well that when I finally get to see him, right, I could just, like, you missed out on me being a linebacker, or you weren't there when you did this, right? So good and bad, right? So I had to pursue perfection for comfort, but man, I push a lot of people away doing that, trying trying to fill a void that because I didn't have that as a father, right? So back to Florida, right? So
We can bounce around as much as we need to.
so I was aviation electrician's mate, doing really well, and man, I remember running in the line shack. Line shack is man, the line shack is a division that makes sure the aircraft is ready to launch and everything else. All the different number divisions is what they're trained for. Like 200 is aviation and avionics and electricians, and the 100s is hydraulics and mechanical. And the line shack was the 300 division. It's kind of where all the new guys go, and they learn like where everything is and how to move aircraft and making sure that it's washed and everything's filled up. And there's this position called plane captain, and it's a position of authority where you're responsible for the aircraft designated by the commanding officer. So like everything else you're a peon, but when you have this certificate, it's like you could tell the pilots that he's doing something wrong, and you're backing it from the one of things. And I ended up doing it because I saw somebody else do it, and I was like, hey, I could do that. And he's like, no, you can't. And he challenged me, so I had to. I ended up being a plane captain trainer. And so
what I'm hearing is you like being challenged. It usually turns out pretty well.
Yeah, and which delayed me in going into my shop as an electrician. But by me training others, I learned a lot of other things on leadership styles, and just like they went to their own level of schools, and they learned about hydraulics and mechanical and all the other stuff. And then I got to go to my shop, and it was packed full of like really old heads that had been around for a while, that kind of did it by the book, because that's all it was. It was all publications back then. When I went to my C school, it was a following like polishing school, we were the last class to use textbooks. We actually did like the cross between go to digital, and we're the ones that threw away the textbooks as we left. Yeah, so as I'm going there, the military is transitioning into that weird things where the people only know how to look through these books, and we kind of only learn that. Like, we learn like how it kind of works, and then there's this system that not even in place, but the teachers are teaching it, so we're learning it as they're teaching it. So I got good at learning to learn, not learning the information. So just how to find stuff. So when I went to the shop, I was teaching these old heads how to find it with this new system, and just kind of like, and realize some of this new system is not as good as like getting that paper cut from the manuals, because that's what you need to remember stuff. Yeah,
that's
books.
true.
Yeah,
little pain association.
Yeah, good times, man. Man, thanks for inviting me, man. Going down memory lane.
Going down memory lane. We're just getting started.
Yeah, I have pictures of faces of really good people in my life, man. God's been blessing me before I even came to him. I remind the guys that wherever you're at is based off of a lot of people's prayers, right, before we even knew about it, right? So,
and a lot of people's wisdom.
Yeah.
That you don't even realize until you're years down the road, and you're like, oh, they were right.
I know. Man, God, people think that Christ is some like square that you have to go left, right, left, man. He has a sense of humor, right? Like you know that hard head that you were when you were a kid, right? He puts that
all
person
the way up to age 50.
Oh yeah. He puts that person in your life so you could give the same wisdom back to them that you receive, and then you sit back and be like, oh, only if I would have listened when I heard it the first time.
Right? Yeah, if only.
Oh, yeah.
So many mistakes could have been avoided.
Oh, yeah.
What? So you did your 5.5 years in the Navy?
So, man, did really well. I wanted to re-enlist at the time. I thought I was going to do 20 years, and I wanted to do micro min school because it was like a really tight billet, but the guy decided to re-up, and then that fell short. My senior chief asked me to push boots with him. I was like 23 years old, and I was like, what do I know about the Navy? It's like the place of advancement. I'm like, dude, you could have Great Lakes. And then it was still right after 9/11. So, Operation, was it Operation Freedom, right? Iraqi Freedom was going on. And I had friends that was attached to different units that had different roles. My unit did search and rescue, anti-submarine, and port and starboard guards. So a lot of water missions. A lot of fun. Been on 6 different carriers, but I had that was sea rotation, and I had sister squadrons that or brother, sister, whatever, doesn't matter, that did 6 months in Iraq and Iran, and I'm like, I want to go. And funny thing about the military is the more that you want to go, the harder it is. But if you don't want to go anywhere, they're
like, hey, we're going to take you and put you over here.
Absolutely. And there was a point, there's like, you're not qualified to qualified enough to go. There's this thing, cloudy duty inspectors. So after a certain rank, you get these classifications that says that I could check certain people's work. So I started working on that for my squadron, where as an electrician, I know how the system works to say I could test a hydraulic guy. So if a hydraulic guy works, I know the steps of what he needs, and I'm proficient in the diagrams and everything else to double check the work. So I got CDI, multiple divisions and everything else. And then I'm like, 6 months later, it's like, cool, send me. And they're like, you're too qualified. I need you to train more people.
You're too qualified.
Right. So it just continued rose, and I get fed up with the system. And I end up getting out of the Navy. And my stepfather says, it's like, hey, there's this company that's hiring aviation guys, kind of like that, right? And you should check them out. And I'm like, Dad, you have no idea about what I do. So there's like a satellite company that's of the same company. I don't know. And I sent my resumes to there, and then like the person that he gives me the direct contact for, right? It's like, now it's like 3 weeks, very impatient. Like, I'm 2006, so I'm like, I don't know how old, right? 24, right?
23.
Yeah. So so I'm like, what did my dad know? And I look it up, and it's the actual, like, the recruiter, the person that actually looks at these resumes. Like, he gave me the shortcut, and I didn't use it. So I end up handing my resume over to him, doing an interview and getting the job. And I'm like, okay, maybe Dad knows some people's. So that company was Dongducheon International. They got contracts from Redstone, which is a governing body for all the MET mods, or modifications and requirements for the fleet for the Army before they go overseas, based out of Alabama. So I literally went to a 90% Army environment, 90% Army, and like 98% ex-military, being like one of 2 Navy guys, and working on Apaches, which is completely different.
In Georgia?
No, in Killeen.
In Killeen.
Yeah. So it was 23, because I bought my first house in 23. Bought my first house, and got a really good job at the time. Like, I'm like $26 an hour, 23, thinking that I need to be getting paid $50 an hour. That's the limit for me, right? And man, I mishandled that money and just bought stuff, and just had no thing. Still no relationship with Christ.
Still married?
Still married. By then, I had 3 kids, right? Uh, yeah. So my firstborn, right? Like, it's really memorable because it's my firstborn. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my kids to think that they're any less special or
Well,
whatever,
we
right?
have 5 combined. You had
I have
6
6,
combined. So
right?
I was talking to an insurance lady one time on the phone after an accident. And she was going, well, it was for one of our kids, and she was going through asking me all the birthdays of the kids, and I was just rattling them off. She goes, "Wow, I'm impressed. You know all of them."
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like, "Don't ask me again. I might get it wrong."
yeah. So I might not know how old I was when I got out of the Navy, but I do know my kids' birthdays,
Yeah.
right? Then the so I have 6 kids. So kind of I grouped them in like groups, my little mini groups from the different marriages.
Mm-hmm.
But
3
oldest,
from the first marriage.
so yeah, 3 from the first marriage. So Christian, Stefan, Chris and Stephanie,
Mm-hmm.
Zachary, James, right outside the military base.
That's my nephew's name,
Zachary.
Zachary James.
Ooh, that's
Right.
really good. So James is my middle name.
Stephanie was my first wife.
Oh man, we're meant to be brothers.
Oh, man.
So Zachary, I'm grown, like E5 now or E4, so I have to live next to a
Mhm.
townhouse instead of the little studio, whatever, and but still not in a gated community. But we shared a pond,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember like driving to work and thinking about Zachary's name, and I was like, I want him to be different. He is actually my most different child.
Mm-hmm.
Something Y, something Z. And I drive by Zaxby's. And I was like, Zach Morris, he was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he got his name.
Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
And Zaxby's.
Zaxby's. So my first 3 kids are 13 years apart. Oh, sorry, 17 months apart. And then I have my only daughter, right? At this time, man, like really rough, kind of, we already separated a couple times. This is right before I got out of the military, and we separated, fighting, immaturity, freaking all the headaches.
Yeah.
And she's back in Killeen while I'm still in the Navy at the time. All right, and so kind of like me, Zachary, Christian, and Stephanie is like in this empty space. Like, what's going to happen in the path? And then I go visit her and the kids for a holiday, and then she gets pregnant with Aaliyah. At the time, she cheats on me, and I lose it, and then I become this man whore. And just unrespect for girls, and I have a line for every girl, and I'm at that age, and MySpace profile, tall, dark, and handsome, with good with their hands, 6'2", bulletproof, and just really full of myself.
Built like a tank, newly divorced, ready to hit the town.
All that stuff, and then so I get out of the Navy, and I want to do the right thing, and I cut off all ties. I'll go back to my daughter, and cut off all my ties, and my ex-wife's really mad at me. I'll tell you why in a second. And she's like, only my mom and your mom's gonna go to the birth. You watching Christian and Zachary in the waiting room, right? And you named the kid, you named both of the boys. What do you think? And we had a really good relationship. Her sister is like, hey, she wants to name her Ruby, or because some soap opera or whatever. And Aaliyah just died, right? And I mention it, and I tell Sue Ellen, I was like, but if it's coming from me, it's automatically no, right? Even though everybody else likes the name, right? And then kind of like give somebody that information, but kind of make it their own,
right?
And then
Plant the seed.
My stepdad, his name is Danny, and her stepdad, his name is Daniel. Dan, sorry. So her name is Danielle. Aaliyah, Danielle, my only girl. So we separate, go back and see my ex-wife through the separation, have a girlfriend that I impregnated while I'm in the Navy, right, back at home, back in Jacksonville. And he gets born October. Aaliyah gets born September 5th. So like a month apart. And his name is Amani Ray. He lives with his grandmother in, do you know Pensacola, the Pensacola area where it's like Alabama right there? Right. He lives over there.
Destin's over there, right?
Yeah, Destin. And man, God, it's so funny. My last ex-wife is from Navarre. You know where Navarre is? It's in between Fort Lauderdale and Pensacola. So like while I was stationed in Pensacola, and we probably like crossed paths. Right? It's a really small world when you actually think about it.
Yeah. Well, it's a little strip of Florida.
Yeah. So that's 4. Man, that marriage was, man.
What'd you learn from that marriage? 'Cause I know I learned a lot from my marriage, my first one.
Man, still didn't find my way to Christ yet. Got married too young. Everything was like status kind of based. Like at this age, I have to be here. Got to be the youngest.
Expectations.
And setting these expectations. Lot of like not understanding how the world works, but the confidence of like thinking that it does, and like if it doesn't go your way, it's got to be the other person's problem, not how you think.
Preaching to the choir.
Her sister is a superintendent, and like she did the whole college experience, and like she's trying to live vicariously, and I had this plan set out. It was very. Both of us very immature in different ways, and financial. I'm like, we got to put this much aside, and we got to do this. And she was very immature, but like we met each other in high school, so it's like high school sweetheart. She was a cheerleader. I was a middle linebacker, so it has to work, right?
Right.
So like 8.5 years.
Disney writes those movies, right?
Yeah, 8.5 years of back and forth, and like separation, getting back together. I'm going to do it for the kids. I'm going to do what's right. This is not working. And it's just like trying to put something together that hasn't been blessed, right? And then, and it all leads to Christ. So during that time, I'm working with Dongducheon, and during one of the separations, I'm like, F it, I'm going to go like get out of here, do one of these like trips where they send you somewhere, pay you a lot of money in per diem, and just kind of like, and got a knack of it. And the more valued you are, the more you can stay on the road. The more you stay on the road, the more money you make. And shortly then, after like 5 years, I was making like $200,000 a year, right? And like some of the stuff, I'm getting paid $200 a day per diem, and still go home because like I have to drive an hour and a half, right? But after 90 miles is the criteria for per diem. It's like clean to Austin. I'm working in Austin. They had the tollways. Man, so one of the trips was like Colorado, and I'll rent rooms at hotels, suites. And the kids would come during summer, and like balcony goes straight to the pool. And like every weekend would be Garden of the Gods, some Great Gorge, or some 3D attraction, some Renaissance festival, just spending money like it was like out of style.
Keeping the kids entertained.
Yeah, it was good. A lot of great stories and a lot of great things, but didn't steward anything. Well, my brother was graduating. He's 9 years younger. And I'm like, hey, look, you got to set up the things. I can't fly down there and drive you back. How about you get a rental car and you drive? I'll meet you over here. Remember my contract with the military. So that stuff changes. It's not like, hey, like I need vacation because I'm, it's military contracts. And she ends up going. My sister comes down. My sister at the time was bisexual, just got married in Canada, right? And she's like, "Why don't you just come up there to Cleveland with me?" I'm in Baltimore. I'm in Aberdeen Proving Ground, 40 minutes north of Baltimore. It's just right around the corner, when people don't know directions. And man, at the time, I'm financially making really good money. Family's devastated, always fighting with my ex-wife, and she is in Cleveland with my bisexual sister, right? Living in a home with like 3 females, and like I know it's wrong, right? But like I'm not no relationship with God or whatever, and I just hate people at this time. And at this point in time, I'm thinking like, if you're wrong, right? You're dumb. If you're dumb, then you're worthless. And that's how I thought about everybody. Right. So if I found one weakness, I just classified you. So miserable, just miserable. But normally when we fight, she goes back home. I got the father-in-law that I look up to, right? My mom and dad's from the same town. There's always like somebody that I could go check and how is he doing, and always going back. And this is all in Cleveland, and don't want to answer the phones, and just all big old drama thing. And my mother calls and she says, "Pray about it." And I'm like, "Mom, right, praying without action is dead."
When was the last time you had prayed about anything at that point?
Right. This is like probably like confirmation, right? Like,
right.
I'm smoking cigarettes in the parking lots of churches, and like maybe I went to church a couple times when I take leave for Christmas or Easter or something. And she's like, "Pray." I'm like, I'm still quoting like, "It's dead, Mom. I need to do something. You can pray all you want. I need something to happen. Tell me what to do. Just I want you to think and to pray." And for some reason, right, I don't really pray, but all right, I was like, I go down memory lane, like backwards from that day to the last time that I had a peace, like actual peace. And
that's good.
It got down to when I was like 13. Confirmation and going to like playing football, and like on Wednesday missing practice because I had confirmation, and I was in martial arts, so I was always busy. So I get up. That was like Friday night. Get up, maybe Saturday night. I don't know, but I get up. It must be Saturday night because I get up and I dress for church. But my real plan is to find a martial arts studio. So I go to the martial arts studio, and
so you could work out some frustration.
Yeah. So I thought that's what it was. It wasn't. I didn't have a relationship with God at the time. Like I'm like working out. I'm working all day. I'll speed this up. I find this martial arts studio, and it's closed. Sorry, I have no idea who's calling me, but I find this martial arts studio, go there, and Google's like new, and it's closed. And on the way back to the hotel, to like at the time there was no like Google Maps where you have to actually go back to your computer and like look for stuff.
MapQuest.
Yeah,
print it out.
So I'm like finding excuses to go home, and I was like, if there's a church on the left hand side or on the right, like that kind of stupid game.
Sounds like around 2006.
Yeah.
Printing out maps.
So I come back to the hotel where I'm staying at, and that like Cricket kiosk size buildings, the new like those kiosk areas. It wasn't Cricket, but those things. Right, the little sign that says in martial arts, and then in the small letters, Korean letters. And I was like, I didn't see this on MapQuest because it was that young. And it was closed, but I see a Korean man stretching, and I talk to him in Korean because I grew up in Korea. And he's actually teaches Hapkido, which is a Korean style Aikido, which very few people study. And so I signed up there, and I'm like now I could say, "Oh God." Back then I'm like, "Luck," whatever. And as I'm walking out, I'm still dressed in church clothes, and And this brother says, it's like, hey, can I help you? Are you looking? I'm like, hey, I'm kind of looking for a church, but I found this martial arts studio. This is really great. Right. He was like, well, if you're looking for a church, we got one right next door.
How convenient.
Christian, oh God, right? Christian Life Center, Congregation 27. Very small church. They just moved to the kiosk the same time, brand new, right? New area of town. And so miserable at work, family life is distraught. I go work and do P90X, go run a mile and a half, and then take that frustration to the martial arts studio. And then when I'm all nice and sweaty, like go drop it on the church and they have some kind of Bible study or whatever. And I do that for a bit because I don't know what else to do. Like, and staying in a dark room and just too much disaster, right? So slowly but surely, God kind of like allows me and her to kind of like come to agreement where I'm a lot more calm and a lot more nurturing and a lot more thinking about the things. And then the kids join me and we start school. They start school in Aberdeen Proving Ground. So they kind of like temporarily get back together, and then I go back to change of pace. I go back to Colleen, kind of home. It's Austin, and I'm working like super overtime and driving an hour and a half. So like, got a new house and all the other stuff, and she hasn't unpacked. She's been watching TV and I'm all like, you have to work. Like everything has to be work. Like it doesn't matter if you're tired or whatever excuses. And it's like, I was watching TV. So as an electrician, I cut the cords. Not very Christian-like, right? Get in a big fight. I move in with my mom, and then she files for divorce. And shortly after, I'm finding a home church, being like a bigger brother at my mom's church, Korean Admiration Church. And my brother is in Dallas Christian College, studying all kinds of stuff, raising funds for some missionary work, and just super involved in church now. Have a young men's ministry called Man Up, where we're talking, like we read scripture and then we're talking about like finding our way to God and activities. And some of these kids have cars now, and Team A only could make left turns, and Team B could only go to right turns. And then it's like, it's not which way to get there, as long as you get there kind of message. And little stupid things like hot sauce challenges and eating grasshoppers like John, like really dumb stuff, right? But it was really active, and like Instagram is just blowing up. And best friends gets best friend Krim Gay. He goes to Guns Glory, and he brings a round with him, asks to see a gun, puts it in the chamber, and shoots himself in the head. And I have to go to the hospital, and like we grew up together, right? And still to this day, it's one of those like, every time I see her at my mom's church, like she remembers like us, and she always brings tears to her eyes, which brings tears to my eyes. Man,
did he do that in front of you?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. So I'm really involved in church, and I'm trying to get him to go to church too, and like just kind of like doing like the reach out. Like reaching your close friends are really hard, right? And I'm like, I could do it. More of a challenge, and like it hurt me a lot because I really I question like, what if I would have done this, or if I would have spent more time. Right. Man, so that was like November when I gave my life to Christ. December is back at home. Sorry, no, that's like December. I'm back at home, and that's like May. In February, my mom's cancer comes back after 7 years of remission. like in April, I tear my Achilles during the contracts when military change contracts. So I have to like get back to work before the contracts turn, because if you're injured during it, then they just automatically release you, kind of things. Man, it was a rough 4 months, and I've never been through anything like that. Like, I almost lost it when my mom found out she had cancer the first time, right? And I remember people asking me, "Why are you okay?" And I was like, "Only God. Like, I can't explain it, but there was a reason why certain things happen at certain times. Because if I didn't have God, I don't know what would happen during that time." So, my answer was like, God is peace. At the same time, I'm still full of myself. I'm still young. I'm still 29, and I'm like Job. And a lot of the more spiritually mature people be like, you might want to reread that. Right? You lost Achilles, not.
Yeah, what else can we throw at him?
Yeah. So
Leprosy.
So went through the divorce. Mom's cancer come back. Best friend commits suicide. Contracts changing. Achilles. And now I can't. I tore my Achilles in a community outreach for a church called One Chapel in Austin. They met at the Barton Creek Mall, and I thought that church was amazing. It's so much different. Recommendation from a friend that went to college with my brother, but it was so far away. I was living in Killeen, and my brother, he's my younger brother, 10 years younger than me, 9.5, he'll say. But he lives on missions, and man, about brothers and stuff, I'm the older brother, but he's my older brother spiritually.
He's your spiritual brother.
Right, so he gives me these advices, and normally if I take it, it works well. But like, when I was in Egypt, he told me to read the New Testament, and I'm like, no, I got to read the Old Testament.
When you were in
first.
Egypt?
Oh yeah, there's always these micro stories. I
have to come back to that one. I really want to go there.
Yeah, it was yeah.
And Pompeii.
Wasn't in Pompeii, but so my brother said I need to find a home church that you could grow and go into, and Faith Point was Faith Chapel, right? Sorry, Faith Temple. That was the original name. Went through new marketing thing, and joined the young adult ministry and started doing small groups. Really full of my head, and at this point in time, I'm still going through the divorce things, and I'm kind of weaponizing 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter, on reading it like how she didn't love me, not how I should love people. Yeah, that took a couple of years for me to learn.
Yeah.
Right. But so did that. Got a little church hurt. Man, the senior pastor just retired a couple of years ago. Man, really charismatic, but I'm not gonna put any names and anything else. But there was God there, but that's not what I was seeking. I was feeling His presence and being moved by Him, but still trying to understand the things on how a church works and the business aspects. And just kind of looking at churches to find His flaws. I was at that mindset. So when I heard certain things, that's kind of finding that chink in the armor. And at that point in time, I'm still 29, 30 years old, and I'm like, all right, cool. I can read this Bible by myself. I think somebody told me bad advice, super bad advice. A church is a place for learning and healing, right? And I'm not sick, and I know how to read the Bible. I heard that from somebody, and I say it right now. It's like He's close, but it's like if you're not sick, your responsibility to heal. And if you know the stuff, it's time for you to teach. At the time, I was full of myself, and I walked away from the church, a little backsliding for a number of years. Back to Egypt. That's one of the trips when I was separated with my ex-wife. They got a contract, the Egyptian Air Force got a contract to modify their UH-47s, their Chinooks, to retrofit them with the new heads-up display systems, flare, chaff, and blue force tracking that our aircraft had on our Apaches. And because I worked on Apaches, they asked me to do the things. It was really cool. Man, ready? So the 27, right? So 2 years before, maybe, 27, about to turn 28. So a year before. This is funny. It's a Muslim country. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, full of myself, no relationship with Christ. And I decided to walk around with a Bible in my hand, like, come get something, right? If you're
You did that intentionally to
intentionally
be a troublemaker?
Yeah, so carrying it around, but if you're going to carry around something, the Bible's a really good thing. You might end up flipping a page on an hour commute to Benny Swaif to the military base.
And this was before you could get it on your phone.
Oh, yeah. So I started reading it like a book, like intellectually, like, why did this happen? And my brother suggests this, get a study Bible. It kind of gives you the outline, the context, the time period, the author, and I didn't know about those. I thought I found like the Holy Grail, right? And it now has maps, but having maps here, we're in Kyle, so like Dallas is like almost 190, 170 miles.
Yeah. 200 miles.
Right. So
210.
it was 179 miles to Mount Sinai from where I was. And that changed my whole relevance of things. Did a morale, welfare, and recreation trip to the middle of the desert right after I like read Genesis. And I was questioning, like, what fool could get lost in a desert for 40 years? I'm in a
And then you look around,
I'm in a desert looking at whale bones and putting to spaces like if a vertebrate's this big, I'm touching my back, finding out how many vertebrates I have, and trying to manage it. Like, whales have more vertebrates than me, and I'm like, this thing got to be this deep. And I had fish at one point in time in Florida. I'm like, it must be this deep, and feeling this small. And then like the next phone call, it's like, hey, I heard you're in Egypt. Do you want to go over here? I'm like, you're over here too? Military friend, right? And I was like, how is the world so small and so big at the same time, and no relationship with Christ? So I take my advice from my brother and start reading the New Testament, and I get to book of Acts, and our Bible study's doing Acts, and kind of full circle, right? So and I find the story of Paul, somebody that used to persecute Christians, and like I was, after knowing this information and weaponizing it, and people trying to help me get to Christ, and I'm like throwing it back in their face, and then like following his studies on a map and going to Greece, and then like, so I have a friend that was stationed in Greece, so I went to go visit them, and just be able to just be in that area all before coming to Christ, just intellectually learning about cultures and ways, and learning about Coptic Christians, Coptic Catholics, and the forbidden languages, and just like really immersing myself of information I didn't know about, made me more curious. I think Pastor Sean says it best, that properly wrestling with God will only make you get closer to him. So just having that question, and I think my biggest question at the time was like, why are we here? I think that's a question that a lot of non-believers have, and I couldn't answer it, and I kept searching, and then you find out, right? And then a year later, in Baltimore, Maryland, or Aberdeen Proving Ground, Bell Camp, I gave my life to Christ. Yeah, because that's my Egypt trip.
What was the moment that you realized it was time to give your life to Christ? Was it in Egypt?
No.
Or just from what you learned in Egypt kind of sparked that?
That sparked it, and didn't understand it. And you know how, like, I experience it now, and like, it brings me joy when like somebody finds something in like Friday Bible study or Tuesday that they hear something for the first time in a way that they might have heard it a different way, but that click moment,
Right.
and they want to share with everybody, right? So I started getting that at Egypt, but didn't like fully surrender, right? And I don't think I fully surrendered until I got rebaptized, but I remember going to the small church and wanting to have that peace because I didn't have it at the time, and he slowly started working in my life on just softening my hearts. That the malice of hating people, I really, really like dislike people.
Right.
You heard the guy say all this stuff, and it's really hard for me because I'm like, man,
if they only knew the old Chris.
This is why we're doing this kind of right. But
that's how you can be vulnerable and real, because we're not unique in any way. God has changed many people's lives.
Yeah, the same.
And He can change everybody's life.
Yeah, what is
but they have to get there.
Right? They're like, there's no sin or no struggle that no other man has ever. Things like when it's new for us, we're all melting down on it. But like, if we open the book and realize that there's an answer there, and there's a path, and He strengthens you, and you don't even have to do it. Like, it's only God, right? So, yeah,
it's that peace that comes with no understanding.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you stop hating and being mad at people when you have that peace in your heart.
Yeah, so
and you can still get mad and frustrated at people, but
so it
goes away.
It goes away. It starts chiseling your heart, and like other areas of your life start being exposed and changed, and you still hold on to these things. I think the best illustration from my 20s to now, or 29, we'll say 30s to now, it's like when I was saved, I was broken from those chains, but I kept getting up and picking them up, right? And it was like, you have your flight or fight instincts. You also have your establishing your norms. Like when it comes to these different stretch points, what are you going to rely on? If you rely on Him, everything else kind of just works out. But sometimes you rely on things that you're comfortable, your own knowledge, and then get you in more trouble. And then you continue repeating this cycle until you come to light that His way is always better. And what's been getting in your way was you.
And He knows more.
Oh yeah.
He created the universe.
Yeah.
He knows how it works.
Right. James 1, it says his knowledge, His wisdom is abundant. All we have to do is ask. Come on.
We were just talking about that at church yesterday.
Yeah. Man,
it's going to be a good series.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So, where were we? We're going to, you and I can squirrel out pretty easily on topic. So you went to Egypt, you came back, gave your life to Christ. Okay, that's where we are.
Okay.
You got baptized in 2010, 2009?
So
2010. No, you were 28?
29.
Egypt.
So I was 28 in Egypt. So 29 when I gave my life to Christ. Turned 30 the January afterwards. So that will put us at 13, right? 2013 at 30. No? Am I doing the math wrong?
That's right.
Yeah.
30.
So 2013, I'm going through the suck, right? Mom's cancer, best friends commit suicide, torn Achilles. I don't know if you know about torn Achilles, but the process is really easy. They literally could grow by itself. I contacted some people.
It's like a rubber band.
So I had a friend that did play college volleyball. She had 4 Achilles tears and told me why she took surgically repaired, and I'm like mountain biking, like extreme stuff, and got into rock climbing. I was at that age, recently going through the divorce, so I'm finding an outlet. And then so I elect to get surgically repaired, right? man, tough. Mom, that's all right. You don't need to take me to the hospital. It's a day surgery. I already watched it on the online already. It should be good. They ruptured my trachea. So because the surgery's on back of my leg, I have to lay on my stomach. If you have to be on your stomach, they have to put you have to put you unconscious and then put a trach to keep your airways around.
I didn't know that.
They rupture my airway, right, and I get pneumonia. I'm literally drowning in my own blood. They, you know that emergency contact that everybody's like, oh, whoever gonna put kind of things. Only and first time you used it, and my mom doesn't speak English that very well. She's does very well now, but she's still shy about it. So imagine the hospital like calling, saying that a day surgery turns into your son's drowning in his own blood. All the same. This is like 5-6 months after I just was saying.
This is just more stuff being thrown at you.
It's crazy time period. I think that's where kind of like
So they suck the blood out of your lungs, or what?
yeah. So they
You're good to go.
Yeah, so they suck all the blood out. I stay in the hospital over the weekend. Every time somebody comes to the hospital and like I'm asking questions, and it's like my second time ever like really in the hospital. I tore a tendon here, all like Achilles, just all tendon injuries in my life, meniscuses and everything else. But first time like friends from church came and visited me, and they just want to hang out. Not like, like you expect your mother and your ex-wife and kids, but like just other things. And remember talking about extrovert, introvert kind of things. I was like short. And just kind of like started like understanding how the worlds are supposed to be. Not
world of community.
Yeah. Not this, what I knew to be normal. Right. I love my mom and dad, and I would never blame them for everything else. But there's things that I know now that if I knew then, it could have a different change. Man, the best thing about, like even with my kids, where like my oldest one, like we have some communication issues as my walk and as my heart's changing and kind of things, and through my suicide attempts, we still have some work that needs to be done, and that's probably my biggest prayer request. But then we have like my youngest, where he just turned 4 May 11th around Mother's Day. Man, he's like, Dad, we're going to church. You know what I'm saying? Like, Ethan's like, Dad, can you fix this? Dad, I'm washing the dishes right now, and he puts his toy down and he prays. And prays that Dad could help him fix it. What are you supposed to do? That? And you do. You put your hands down and do. It's a small little things of neglect and kind of things that you don't even think, like, I got to do the dishes first. That you stop and do it. Or or one of the few times that you get to go to church and you're not serving. I love serving. It's just hanging out. I mean, like, we worship our face off up there.
We have a good time.
Right, but you're not serving, and you're like, I'm leaving after this service, and you're getting beat up by your young ones. Like, what do you mean you're not serving? Like, I got friends up there that I have to hang out with. Reestablishing the norm now on those to how as I'm learning with my older ones, it's not. Kurt Lai comes to my Friday Bible study with Aaron and Will that helps lead. He's such an oak. He's such a things. He's a father, and I remember him giving the men's group and getting on stage, and he hit everything I was struggling with my oldest one, and he needs advice too sometimes, because having kids, man, they don't come with instructions. But man, we got real, and with the struggles and stuff of the stuff that we dealt with, and how to not overcorrect and try to stay in the word. And as you give advice, you're like, I need to implement that too, because that's right. Sometimes you need that person to ask how to fix something for you to actually do it to your life. And we got on that topic, and my biggest prayer request is for my kids to find that freedom and love and the thing that I found now. And I was like, my number one prayer. And it's like, that request that is always the same thing. And it's like, why isn't it changing? Why aren't you doing it?
Right.
And during the Friday study, as somebody else asked me for a similar thing, I'm giving them advice. The Spirit kind of like told me, it's like, it's not the things that you could do that could fix that, but the things that the younger ones, their brothers, will do in their lives will have more of an impact. And just rush of peace, that prayer thing that you've been praying for years for. So it's like, man, like them not just only seeing in me, but seeing the benefits through Ethan Elliott, a 4 and 5-year-old, will change more. I was like, thanks God for answering the things, because that was my number one prayer request, still is. But I know that it's His faithfulness that will prevail. Not sometimes we just try to do too much in it. So,
well, how did the second marriage come about?
Man, all right.
Since we're talking about
cool, there's
the younger kids now.
All right. So, fixing helicopters, modifying them, divorce comes, and I'm trying to balance like the divorce order and the child support. Got brand new everything from houses and trucks and all the other stuff, mismanaging it. And it's like a 25%. I go from like $200,000 a year to like $50,000 a year because I can't do any overtime and I have to pay all this child support. Right. There's a point in time I was paying like $3,000 in child support a month. So I'm like, I got to do something. I'm like not happy at work. It's kind of like played out. Just kind of like I'm a glorified pimp my ride guy, modifying helicopters. It's just like anything else. You get tired of it. Cool. Right. Until you do it for a while and realize that there's not that satisfaction. My uncle's advice kind of comes in, and now I'm like, I'm getting a little older. I'm getting into my 30s. I'm like, I got to start my own company. Well, yeah, no capital because the divorce and the house and everything else. And so I was like, well, I could go find stuff. So I'm learning about roofing because I want to do a solar panel company. Background in aviation electrician. So I'm like, solar panel is going to be the next thing, right? So I get into roofing, and they're like, we'll make you a metal roofs. We'll make you like assistant foreman 2 weeks into construction, first construction job. I used to modify helicopters. Now I'm like getting paid $9 an hour. But it all's going to be good, right? It's all going to be good. And promises that man has but never delivers, right? And I wait, and I do it for like a year. And then Kovac Building Closure is like a $900 million company. They said that they like how I lead crews, and the guy that interviewed me was an ex-military, and I was like wearing ex-military attire. So it's like me giving you this job application. It's like me committing you to getting a job, like consider it done. So I joined this company based off of just that. I get like a $6 raise. They pay for my housing. So I have like no bills now. And they travel me to all these cool spots, and I get to work on like second largest convention centers in the United States, the biggest military hospitals, museums, and stuff like that. And I work on Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center in San Antonio and do all the exterior finishes. Right. And the owner of the company is like, we put you there. He knows my name 2 weeks in. It's like, we put you there because we heard about your numbers, and filling my head up. And they put me in housing in New Braunfels. And then they moved to San Antonio with like the leadership. And next door is my ex-wife. Right. So
just out of chance?
Just had a chance. And like just stupid, like where do you order Chinese food turns into like hanging out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is how you met your second wife. Okay. Gotcha.
So I meet her, and now we're dating, and kind of like dating, and it's like, hey, there's too many guys in the house. Like, ask your girlfriend if she'll rent you a room. Now my company's paying me extra to live in the house with my things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I already backslid. I'm walked away from the church because of like the charging for paragraph pavers and finding out that they want to do a daycare facility for this and that, and just kind of all the
Mm-hmm.
pastors I went through before kind of like started their own churches, right? But I was looking for those things to get out. So I'm backslid. I'm walking away from not like walking away, but not like in the walk. So she meets my kids, and she loves my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And she is a very, very nice person. Her mother is an atheist
Yeah.
and never promoted church. Her father was Jewish and was removed from his family, kind of like the black sheep of the family, because he married my ex-wife's mother,
Mm-hmm.
right? So both non-practicing. Her aunt is a practicing Christian, right? And like my failure as a man and a husband was not leading my family to church.
Mm.
And so a lot of like nuances of like not knowing stuff and maturing and thinking I knew too much. And well, after like 5 years, she starts sending the hints for like we need to get married, and probably the worst proposal ever, right? I'll save her from that, but I kind of coerced my nephew from doing it, and he ruined it. But I'm the one that should have like done it the way it was, and it was on Christmas. So no Christmas proposal, guys. Don't do that.
Bad idea.
Bad idea. But she said yes, and then before we figured out a date, guess what? She gets pregnant with Ethan.
You seem to be very fertile.
Oh yeah, yeah. Not anymore, right? So yeah, we could talk about vasectomies and going to work right afterwards. Not advice.
Not a good idea.
Good for the first 3 hours, and the medicine wears out.
Oh.
Yeah, and then you're like at home for like 4 days. Seems like. Especially trying to pick up Ethan. So,
so gets pregnant, y'all get married.
So we get. All right. So we meet each other in San Antonio. I guess like put on like different projects all across the United States. So on those weekends when I have the kids, I'm like driving to Killeen, picking them up, and come with kind of mean and like my first kid's mother is in Dallas being a teacher and now spacing, and so got to make this whole bigger things, and she loves my kids. Awesome, really good person. And my son come visit me during the summer, my oldest one, Christian, and I get him a new phone, and like goes home, and he's at that age where he's 13 and like fighting with mom, and that's my property. Dad gave it to me. They get into like a big old fight, and she ships him off to me, and I'm loving arms. A couple years later, Zachary, they're 17 months apart. Zachary says, all I want for birthday is to live with Dad. So it breaks my heart. COVID hits. My daughter and hers in Panama. She's teaching English. All right. No, not Panama, but in dang it. She's overseas during COVID. And she's stuck there. Honduras. They're in Honduras during COVID, so that was a scary point in time. When they get back, all my kids eventually want to live with me, and I'm like, it's great, right? And then work's going good. Still walked away from the church a little bit. Like going to church with mom when we go back to Killeen, but not guiding my family to church. And I think the biggest thing why my oldest kid has this confusion is like, even though my ex-wife is Seventh-day Adventist, she still believes in the three prime rules. What makes us Christians? You know, the resurrection, so there's a lot of other things that we don't line up with, but when the kids live with me, I kind of give them their own choice. Like I said, a lot of the faults were on me. Where like, oh no, I'm not like your mom kind of thing. She's gonna make you like twist your hand to go, and that's not how you do it. You got to do it in this way, kind of things. Is up to you, and not made it into a focus. And I really failed as a father to lead my older kids to Christ. Didn't set the example. So work's doing great. Family's doing great. Spiritually not doing great, but I moved to Kyle. Got some promotions and started working on like Tesla and Austin Library projects, some bigger projects. My name's being like thrown out there. And then I'm like, hey, new place, let's start going to church. We'll quit smoking cigarettes and be good. You know, all the either New Year resolution or when you move kind of things. And she goes to Icon, and I'm like, I like it. Like this is kind of like what Faith Point and One Chapel kind of was. And ex-wife says, I don't like it. Right, I don't know anybody kind of things. I was like, cool, more football for me. So Ethan comes, COVID. Ethan was born the day before who announced COVID, right?
March 14th or March 13th?
No, the who.
Oh.
Yeah, so December 21st.
Before even then, so 2019.
Yeah, 2019. December 21st, 2019 was when Ethan was born, right? The day that they announced to
yeah, and it was at the middle of March when they shut everything down.
In the United States, yeah. So he was born December, March, everything shuts down. Kids can't go to school. I'm working on I'm working on facilities. I'm part of like the COVID response team where I have to like report to safety about what's going on in safety. So like for me, nothing like changed, right? Other people got laid off and got tighter and whatever. I'm like, part of my job is that a lot of house projects got good at like hiring my own kids to like redo the tile and all kinds of COVID projects.
Right.
It was a really cool time. And then Elliot happened. All right. Then like in between Elliot, we go on a honeymoon because she was pregnant, and we go to Alaska and everything else. Really good times. Then her best friend in the whole wide world, the person that's closest to her, is her aunt, and she passes away. And to this point, only my best friend, my uncle, and my father passed away, but they're close, but I didn't know how to grieve. I didn't know how to do it. And instead of grieving, I used to use that point in time to be like, get mad, because that's the only way I knew how to understand. And I used to be like, I wouldn't be thinking about it if you quit asking me how I'm doing about it. You know, I was that guy. And I still didn't know how to do that. And her best friend dies. And me and her kind of became an instant family. Like went from Christian moving in, Zachary moving in, and now removing the whole house and buying the whole thing. And she's pregnant with Elliot. Ethan's born. Her aunt dies a week of her birthday.
All things seem to be happening at once in your life.
Yeah,
chunks.
Yeah, and I'm not being supportive. I'm so busy at work. You go handle it. Hey, I'm supposed to go. her aunt owned some property and some businesses, and she was left to be the, what's that role that the divvies out property. There's a role when you in your
Parceling?
no. Man, I wish I could just pull out my phone and look at it.
Well, I can look it up.
Yeah, but it's the role that you designate somebody to make those choices. Like,
For development?
no. So her aunt passed away, and in her will, she left my ex-wife in charge to divvy up the property and the business.
Yeah.
To
Power
her.
of attorney on the...
Well, yeah, there's a role, whatever. But she like she has uncles and her mom, right? And her aunt dies, and her aunt leaves her in charge of like a cleaning business and this other business and these multiple houses, and she's doing her legal thing in her job, and professionally, both of her are doing really well.
She's like managing left her management of her portfolio, basically,
of
her
that,
investment portfolio.
while being pregnant and the kid, and the person that she would talk to about all that was her aunt, right? So she passed away, and then a really hard time talking to her, and I latch on to Ethan because he's older, and I have to go to sleep early. I have to get up early in construction. I'm working on Tesla, so like I'm sleeping in the other room with Ethan, and she's predominantly taking care of Elliot because like breastfeeding and everything else, and we kind of go apart. I'm supposed to go with her for that week, her birthday week, to go take care of the last bit of legal stuff, and I can't. Like, Tesla needs me kind of things, and I don't. And I kind of like take a break. She takes her mom and the kids go, and I kind of like just do nothing. I go to work, but like nothing at home. So when she gets back on her birthday, we get into a big old fight, right? And then I give her the silent treatment for like a week. Right. And then I finally reach out, and it's like, hey, this stupid stuff is going on. Like, let's really talk about it. And she's like, I left the divorce attorney's office. And then I lose my mind. And like I stopped going, like, hey, work's not important, boss. I gotta try to save my marriage, right? Doing, all the years of neglect of trying to work it out and putting everything else first. I'm trying to make up for it in the last week. And she's still going through the emotional thing with her aunt and not grieving properly on that too. And then we get a divorce. I try to take my life and cause some lot of pain in a lot of people's hearts, and then I end up living with my brother for like a month. And
what got you to that point?
For
of taking your life, wanting to take your life.
I like in an instant felt like I lost.
Because I've been there, so I know what it takes. But everybody's situation is a little different.
Like I'm very intellectual, and like I made fun of people, right? Like, how could you get that way? The life is so great. And then I became one of them, and I think that's the kind of confusing part of a lot of people. My oldest one had a little struggle through it, trying to be accepted and kind of things, and I didn't understand because I was the macho, like, get out of it, step out of it. And for me, what took me there, like, I didn't care anymore, and the things that I cared about was going to be like all taken away again. And I had no control over it. Like, I had control over it to begin with, right? And then, like, everything that didn't matter kind of things, and I didn't care. And I'm like, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just, like, something I did or what it... And what took me down there is listening to the wrong words, right? Right? At this time, I've been away from Christ for a long time, not really, like, listening to anything. And I still, like, it's crazy, like, how God still accepts me, right? Like, you have to get all the way down low to redirect it back to whatever. So I moved with my brother, and I'm talking to Mike Huddleston, my best friend. Oh, man. And he's he's new in his spiritual walk, and I'm a bad example,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, that's the funny thing about like how it is. It's like he qualifies you.
Right. God uses everybody.
Not you're qualified to do a thing. He qualifies you.
Mm-hmm.
So he's asking me questions how certain thing works, and I'm giving him actual biblical answers because now I'm like in my spare time after work, I'm going back to my brother's house, and he has house churches and Muslim outreaches. His profession is to train missionaries, and I get plugged right back into the thing. And I'm going to a Christian Christian divorce care, and like what I'm reading, what I'm feeding myself is the truth again instead of all this the worldly stuff. And Mike asked these questions and I'm doing it, and he calls me out like, "What church do you go to?" And then it goes all the way back to like how I found vertical. Man, find vertical, and funny thing is, I went to Growth Track.
So this would have been about 2022, 2021, 2022.
Yeah, 20
After McCormick.
Yeah,
Right.
after McCormick,
Yeah.
right after McCormick. I go to Growth Track, right? I'm like, I got this is good. Like, I got to get involved, kind of things. And go to Growth Track, and I do it all wrong. 1, 2, 3, whatever, and miss a muff and everything else. And like that new guy on fire that wants to join up every group. Yeah, I was that guy,
Sign him up.
right? And Pastor Sterling was like, "Slow down, really wise guy."
Everybody wants them. We'll take Chris. We'll take him over here too.
No. I like he actually real good advice to slow me down, but I wasn't listening on some parts. But
Well, you're on fire for the Lord at that point.
yeah, but
Because you had hit your lowest point in life,
Yeah.
and you were coming back up.
and crazy. Well, so we go. This is gonna be a funny story. Sorry, Mike, but maybe I should say this so when you come on here. But so I go to Growth Track with Mike and his wife now. Awesome. Alicia's amazing, right? And they're like, sign up for this or whatever. I was like, but if I go home and drag him, and I go join another company, a little mom and pop place while during a divorce, my multi-million-dollar freaking their whole business model after the owner transferred it to the investors. They're following Samsungs and Teslas, like big whales, and like you're killing the hours and killing the morale. And I don't like the direction they're going. And I go to a glass company, mom and pop place, kind of walk in there and say, I could do the same thing you do, right? Because I was detailing the job that it was his first big commercial glass, and I was detailing and PMing it. So I was like, I could do what you do, right? So, and then help them start a bigger commercial section. I bring Mike Huddleston and my safety guy, and we build a warehouse and kind of like, be able to get our hands dirty kind of things. While dedicating more time in church, everything's changing, right? And I go to Growth Track, and Sterling's like, check these groups things out, and we do the spiritual gifts thing, and I'm like, da-da-da, and it hits me. I'm like, I'm personable, right? I could talk to anybody. Like, first place they want to put you is like host or front door, and that's what it says. And kind of, if you can't think of something, put it there. And first day I meet Ron, right? I tell him, I was like, man, something's like pulling at my heart that I need to be like away from this, not away from the stage, but away from people. Something like not people, like not at the front door. He's like, oh, no big deal. Let me introduce you to Cam. I was like, maybe I can move the podium or something. Right? So I go.
I'll volunteer to pick up the podium.
Yeah, that's it. Right? I get it. Right? I want to serve, but like I don't. He's like, yeah, you can help out tech. I was like, push the TV screen. I go, Cam's like, hey, Cam. He's like, hi. Hi, Chris. Da da da. Hey, you're training with me. I got like 10,000 things over here. Okay, why don't you sit over here? Hey, cool. This multi-founder. If you push these buttons, you can do it. Don't worry about it. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Just push some buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, this is kind of cool. Say, hey, if you do this, just add in other things. Walk away. You know, the PTZ. I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is just like working on helicopters, right? Pushing things.
A lot easier, actually.
All right, cool. Come down. He's like, all right, cool. He lets me play for like 30 minutes. All right. And it's like, oh, sorry, I couldn't like sit down and talk to you or whatever, but we're having another rehearsal next Thursday if you want to just stop by. Cool. I stopped by the next Thursday. He's like, hey, Chris, this is, what's her name? She's also training. Could you teach her what you know?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Pastor Sterling. I was like, as I appreciate that the best way to learn is to teach someone, could you stand here for about 5 minutes? Because this class is going to be short. And I teach her that, like, the 4 things I know, and then just build on.
That's what I've done when we've got new people that come up there and
Just
then they
build
want to
on.
shadow. I'm like, this isn't too hard. If you just come in here, I'll show you what buttons to push. This is Chris's setup. This is my setup. Pick which one's your favorite,
Oh, yeah.
or go with the basic, and boom, they're like, oh.
I understand.
It's really intimidating at first, but
I understand your setup, but once you do it enough, it becomes second nature, right?
it does.
But then if somebody forgets to flip that, yours and my setup is
But the whole
completely
thing,
different.
my whole life is set up left
Oh,
to right.
perfect. Yeah.
Like even my whiteboards are set up left to right. Like my brain just reads left to right like a book, I guess. And so when I went in there and it was backwards, I'm like, I can't rearrange my whole life.
Like for me that's how I learned, and then it's just like mathematics. You just add on to it.
Yeah.
Right. So I know what that works. I know it does. So when I train, I'm like, wait, hold on. Let's go to, these are your options. What makes sense for you? And we'll train that way.
Yeah. Like everything in this room is set up 1, 2, 3, 4 left.
Oh
and
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
all in a circle. The mics and cameras and lights.
Yeah. We have our own styles, man. I still think that I'm the worst director of all of us, man. I think I'm too fast paced. And every time I watch yours, I was like, oh, I got to add that.
This is practice.
Or even Jeremy. Dude, he's so good.
But I set the system up, you know. I've been working it since day one.
Oh, yeah. Man,
Just practice.
It's God's been blessing me ever since I came to just vertical, that guys like you, that's like another servant leader, you know, like you set up the system, but still like.
Well, I had help.
And
I didn't do it all by myself.
And things, and like there's.
Yeah.
I seem like I just hang out, just introduce people, and like just watch and go. And they're like, hey, come over here. You have a question? Me too. Let me go ask James.
Yeah, so we just figured it out.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it was just 2 of us. It was me and Mitch back there.
Mm-hmm.
And he would do, left hand would do lights and slides. And then I'd do sound and video. And we'd be like octopus back there.
Man.
Octopi.
Man,
It's so great having all these people in there now that know how to do things.
I know. So that's, if you looked at my life 10 years ago and said where I would be, they were like, there's no way. Right. I would, the more introvert side, the more like really loud and kind of get to the point and then just disappear. My personality was like, I'll set up the greatest party and be fine with walking away from it. And now it's like having all these people that I know, and like, it's the great problems, like walking out, taking 20 minutes at church, just all great, you know, just hearing your name, like, hey, let me introduce you to this. I'm like, oh, this feels great. And I'm not, it's like planting the seeds. People think like we are responsible for planting the seeds or taking the horse to water thing. Man, I was like, I walk with all these brothers and sisters from the kingdom, from multiple churches, and with a great church like Vertical, that is just like, hey, there's a garden here. We'll scrape the dirt and like Kirk watered it before even the plant of the seed was laid. And then somebody else, Sal, covered it, and Travis freaking watered it on Tuesday, and when it grew and it needed to be pruned, and it's first of all, it's not us at all. Yeah. Right? It's all him, right? But
we're just the hands and feet.
To realize that it's not that the burden to be on one thing, and all of us created differently. All of us created as masterpieces. at the same time, big old sign that says like work in progress. And he still chooses us to be like, hey, look, I want you to go talk to him. I want you to tell your story, because your story could be only best told by you. And your story is what that person needs to hear to realize it's okay to be a mess. He still loves you. It's okay that you didn't come from this left, right, A, B, select, start kind of things. It's like God loves you exactly how He created you, right? As a masterpiece. And it took a while to learn that, right? Man, way to go down memory lane with you, man. This is fun. This is a blessing.
It's a good time.
Yeah. Man, what else? What other questions you got, man?
Let's see. Actually, I have one question here. We can get to wrapping it up. If I can find where I put it. Up there under your name. This one's from Jason.
All right.
What scripture, passage, or book from the Bible has God highlighted in your life? And how does that set up the ministry you now serve in? And how does it set up your future ministry?
Oh, man, that is a good one.
And tell me the verse and I'll pull it up. If you can think of one.
Psalms 56:11 was one of my very first verses I memorized.
In God I trust, I will not be afraid. What can mere humans do to me?
Yep. Man,
it's good.
Like this confidence that people have, right? Some people, is part of their understanding, their normal kind of things. Some of it is like a survival instinct, like I had to be good because like I wanted to impress my dad that never showed up, kind of things, like kind of like superseded other things, right? And then like there's these things that people are afraid of, and like over 300 times it thou shalt not be afraid. So when I saw this thing, it's like, what can mere humans do to me? And it wasn't just a thing about fear of like arachnophobia or hanging off the side of a building or climbing mountains or whatever, that people think that kind of like things. But like mere humans, like, man, nobody else's opinions matter.
Right.
You only person that you're trying to satisfy is God. Right. I bring this verse, this is one of my favorite verses, one of my first favorite verses, but I think in a lot of the different text chains and groups and ministries, just asking the question, what is your favorite verse and why, starts that conversation, right? And it's just all it takes. It's like, well, if you don't have one, right, go find one, right? And
it's hard to narrow it down to one, especially in different
Yeah.
seasons of life.
But
that one goes through all seasons, right there.
The next, Book of Acts, not an actual verse, but the chapter 9, when Saul counters
the road to Damascus.
Yeah, road to Damascus. What hit me is the time period, this season, right? When I told you I was in Egypt, right? And I'm reading this for the first time, and I'm looking at where Damascus was as like a map. And my question after this journey, we drove like 2 hours on paved road that shouldn't nobody to drive on, took a left on a sandy road where I couldn't tell the difference if we're on a road again, to find these, it's called Valley of the Wells, to find these fossils, right? And then I come home and I read this, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. How did he know that was Jesus, right? Because he says, Lord, Lord. And then for like 4 days, like he's walking in the desert, blind, right? And then Amazing Grace and all these like ideas, these things were just jumped out and questioned, like, how did Moses get stuck in the desert for 40 years? Like, now I see, what is this site that they're looking at? This is before coming to Christ. So the Book of Acts is a study that I did multiple times, and everything is always new. It's the development of the first church and kind of like how discipleship should be laid out. I mean, Jesus hangs out with them,
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, and shakes the room. And the Spirit comes, and this is how the church grows, and we're
Yeah.
just following up on it. And James, really strong book. First Corinthians.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of places, a lot of verses.
James is one of my favorites because it's really short.
Yeah, it is, and it carries a story.
Like I read a whole book today.
Yeah, man, I think because of our group, I read all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Matthew today, and that carried me everywhere. Getting on these rabbit holes is probably one of my favorite things to do.
Me too.
James is a good study. It complements any of Paul's things like Galatians and Ephesians like really, really well, and really strong. Like, hey, go do something kind of things. Man.
Yeah. How does it set up your future ministry though?
Oh, man,
Any one of those passages or books from that you talk about. How does
right now
how does that lead you? What does the future of your men's ministry look like?
Man,
I mean, we all have a ministry.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Not like you're in charge of the men's ministry, but we're all kind of in charge of it.
Man,
Really.
I think it's a combination of what book that you're more familiar with and how to relate that to your life that could transpire into it, right? I like James because it's short and it's really easy to say, hey man, like if you can't read, read it daily,
James.
just go try to read this. And I could come back to you in a year later on and be like, hey, here's a second challenge. How about me and you try to memorize James? It's doable. It's really short. Right. And then the story behind him being the brother, and it breaks it down. I like James. Acts, it's kind of like, hey, this is how we should build a church. And
Right.
I think that's
really good.
I think that's kind of like how the next ministries and stuff is just rebuilding the church continuously, because like there's a time and season for everybody, and like we don't want to make it into the just me and you talk every week for the rest of our lives.
Right.
We want the new people and the
You want the
interactions. It's all networking, but the net that we're making is for fishers of men. And it's like, I don't have all the answers. And like some of the guys said, it's like they meet people and they say, hey, Chris knows this person. I'm not plugged into every part of that ministry. I just know somebody there, like that person might have like helped me with my car at one point in time, or he knew about this thing, because we got real and transparent and talked about some real stuff. So I could trust him with some of these other areas. And I think that takes a lot of the burden off of like having to know all the answers, because we're not.
Right.
I think one of the greatest advice that I could give that probably got in the way of me coming to Christ or actually being the way I am is I think I know too much. Right. And I just abandoned the issue that like it's a status thing that you read the Bible. Guess what? Read it again. Right. And then all my mistakes is stuff that I knew already. Right.
Yeah.
I failed to apply again, and helping others helps me like, oh yeah, that's why I do that. Right. Because these habits and things that we apply to life, we want it to be so second nature that we know it's the only way to be, and that's how you change your normal. Growing up with generational curses like divorces, And yeah, I'm guilty of two of them. And I wish upon my kids, not wish, I pray on my kids that the examples don't have to go through. Ethan Elliott has a really good start on being around godly men on Friday nights, right? When I get them on Friday nights, it's like, we're going to have Bible study, Dad. Like, is Mr. Sean going to bring his daughter? Like, is Mr. Mike going to bring his son? Right? Is Kyle going to come? That's normal for them. For me, was that your normal? That wasn't my normal.
Well, it depends on what age, but no.
All right.
Because I didn't really start going back to church until Jennifer and I got married in 2012.
No, as a child.
Oh, I grew up in church with my wife at the same
Good.
church, and it was a small church, and we were at youth group.
Yeah.
We were at church every Sunday. We were usually there on Wednesday night. I was usually there on Wednesday night because my parents had choir practice.
Awesome.
So there was a babysitter.
That wasn't my norm. So
it was a small church.
I'm seeking stuff that the answer's right there. And at 42 years old now, what I'm realizing is like, man, it was like the easiest path of life was already like set forward, but we just kept walking around it, right? And that surrender.
Oh, I totally walked away from it all.
Yeah, that surrender of like, well, maybe my way is better because I know that what I need based off the things that I'm feeling is what.
Just for future reference, anybody watching this, your way is never better.
Oh yeah, and because of that, because a feeling they have. I mean, how many times does it say we lead our hearts, right? And and every one of my mistakes is the same way. It's me thinking that I knew something. And think about in Job when God has this wrestle back and forth with him in his prayer, right? It's part of like chapter 13, where like he's like going back and he's really upset at this point, and just kind of like reaching out to him, and God talks to him. It's like, where were you when the mountains were created? You know, so how do we know better for ourselves based off of feelings? Right? Because we weren't there when the mountains were created. So why wouldn't you just surrender to someone that promise you things that's greater than what you could imagine, and all he wants is a relationship with you. Right? It's that God math that we keep talking about. It doesn't make sense, but it only makes sense. So
I think that's a good way to end it right there, man.
Yeah.
I can't
fun.
think of a better way.
This is fun.
Thanks for coming.
This is
I learned a lot about you.
Yeah. Man, thanks for going down memory lane. This is just two guys hanging out. This is like what serving looks like when me and you up there. It's really hard to do our job, but it's so easy that we just worship him. So it's good.
Yep.
Thanks, James.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, boss.
Thanks for coming in.
Oh, this is good.